through your freedom.
Consider this your trigger warning. The following program is strictly satire and is not meant to be taken seriously. So don't get all butthurt, you liberal snowflakes, just because we skewer your sacred cows and expose all your lies and hypocrisy. Truth hurts, and so does satire. So grab a drink, pull up a chair, and enjoy the show.
Well, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. It is January 4th. Good golly, time for Sunday Night Live. We are at the zoo, and I got to tell you, folks, a lot of interesting, weird, strange SHTF stuff going on right now. Ooh, we're still under threat from what? The Samson Initiative. We're still under threat of China and Russia. We're still under threat of Ukraine, Venezuela. It's crazy. It's crazy out there. Got to get comfortable, folks. You're ready to roll? It is Sunday Night Live, and it is your show. Super chat button right up there. And then also in the description, we've got Venmo, CashApp, and PayPal. It is your show. You guys pick the topics. We'll get you on here on the screen if you go through the super chat, and I'll make you famous. There's a lot to talk about, many topics. I've spent a lot of the weekend looking at Venezuela, but also there's other things going on around the world. So let's do this. Let's start with, let's start with Darcy T. And Darcy T loves to kick off Sundays with a $50 super chat by PayPal, which means a scotch. 18-year single malt Glenfiddich right here. And that's going to go in the Marine Corps 250th anniversary cup from www.pewter.com. Pewter. The good folks at Pewter make beautiful artwork, and especially for active duty and veterans. I ended up giving some of it away to, active duty Marines. Woo! And a good start to, and thank you to you, Darcy T. So she says, I guess my question for this evening is what is on most people's minds? What is the real aim of removing Maduro from Venezuela? She continues, I mean, we're importing all manner of gang members and drug dealers from South America, but we have to take out Maduro? It's not adding up. My guess is there is something in Venezuela that just we or the globalists want. Just don't know what is right now. Wondering. And then she says, Salut. And I tell you what, Darcy, I'm going to combine you and your comment question with what is the real aim? Before I move on, I want to give credit for the thumbnail to this video to Asian Guy. I think the one I'm subscribed to on YouTube is War and Mysteries Chronicles. It has nothing to do with geopolitics, the name War and Mysteries and silver, but that's what this guy is all about, is precious metals, mostly silver. And then what's going on? He stepped into geopolitics. Anyways, I swiped his thumbnail just to give him some credit for it right out the gate. In fact, I would recommend on X and YouTube taking a look into this guy. You'll see him. He's just called Asian Guy, but he's AI, and it's interesting. He's missing some of the topics, right? He's off a little bit. We'll talk about him some more. I just wanted to give him credit out the gate. But he's helping a lot of people to wake up and understand what is going on out there, that it's not all what CNN says. I think it's appealing to a lot of people. And there are dozens of channels of him now. There's got to be dozens. He's clearly artificial intelligence, but the output of his videos, and they're very detailed. About 30 minutes on geopolitics, commodities, especially silver. And it's getting recommendations from YouTube to all of us viewers, right? And so his subscriber count is going up super fast. And it's pissing off a lot of people. I don't know why, but it fuels my belief that Asian Guy John, who is artificial intelligence and has at least a dozen channels, and there's also now Asian Girl, is clearly propaganda. Clearly. China is mentioned quite a bit and mostly in a positive light, while the U.S. is mentioned quite a bit and mostly, 50-50, it seems like, negative. Israel is never mentioned. The European Union is never mentioned. Russia only mentioned a few times in passing. Anyways, check that guy out. A lot of good information to follow. But now, again, we had Darcy's question. She wants to know, what is the real aim of removing Maduro from Venezuela? So I'm going to roll up here, and we're going to touch on Chin Music, who also has a super chat kickoff, which is good because that means I get another scotch to start the show. You guys, super chat button up there. We'll get you on the screens and your questions, comments, thoughts as well. Anyways, Chin Music with the 53-06. Whoops. Poured that one a little heavy, but hey, let's get the show rolling. At 53-06 super chat donation from Chin Music. Here's to you, brother. Thank you. Oh, my. Daddy's painkiller right there. All right. So let's get to his comments. Okay, we got that. Okay, we're going in. He starts off by saying the people that are dealing with Venezuela are a bunch of gold medal hypocrite pieces of shit. He says, I have a show contribution, and you can touch on California also. I'll leave you guys. I want to hear what you guys have to say about California, what's going on there. Anyways, this is a meme picture that was sent to me by Chin Music. He says, here's a question for all of my Democrat liberal friends who are decrying the U.S. capture of Maduro in Venezuela. What's the difference between President Obama ordering U.S. forces to enter a sovereign nation without their permission to intentionally kill Osama bin Laden, who was under a U.S. indictment issued in 1998 under the Clinton administration? 1998 indictment and an Obama killing of bin Laden. So at least 10 years. We know it was more. And so then we get to, Trump ordered U.S. forces to capture Nicolas Maduro unharmed, to prosecute him under a U.S. indictment, which was what bin Laden was in trouble for with the government, for narco trafficking issued in 2020. If you have a cogent answer other than Orange Man bad, I would be delighted to hear it. So what Chin Music is saying is, hey, why is everyone bitching about Trump when basically Obama did the same thing, right? Well, 2020 indictment from Biden, and Trump is making good on it. There is no difference. Very little difference. Obama was a massive drone strike bastard, I guess is the best way to put it. He even killed an American citizen with one of his drone strikes and excused it away. Now, I know I had to go down into Venezuela. They bombed the shit out of some facilities. Apparently, Delta Force went in there and stomped some ass and drug him and his wife, that is Maduro, and put him on probably a chopper, get him out of there. And, he's in D.C. now, going to be prosecuted. Crazy news. There's a lot to it. So the Democrats really have no talking room other than Trump derangement syndrome, Trump bad, Trump evil, Orange Man bad, Trump's going to be a dictator, Trump's a Nazi, Trump's Hitler, Trump is Satan, Trump, right? That's Democrat talking points. It's predictable. He could belch and say, excuse me, and they would say, Orange Man bad, Trump derangement syndrome, I can't believe he just did that, the world's going to die, carbon footprint ruined, right? So Democrats are just idiots. What I am enjoying is the criticism of all sides, including Trump, Ukraine, Russia, England, European Union, Israel, Iran, everybody, China, by conservatives, by Republicans, by Make America Greaters, by America Firsters and America Onlyers, right? Everyone who's on more of the right side of the political spectrum, watching them wake up and learn that we have a uniparty, that Trump is controlled What was once opaque, couldn't really tell, is now crystal clear. It's easy to see the control mechanisms being used on Trump. And I think we've been talking, I know Uman and I have, that for months it has become, well, from at the very least, evidence to suggest. Right? It's not bona fide. It's just very clear that Trump had the information on all the Epstein files, and his leash got pulled. They got stopped. The whole administration is stopped. And now we've got the whole nation being told you can't even criticize Israel, even talk about them, even pointing out their hypocrisy, their lies, their genocide is anti-Semitic. We have a shitstorm coming, folks, when it comes to these people. And by these people, I mean everyone in Washington, because I think it is a uniparty. And I think that's going to be demonstrated by a couple other things we're going to be talking about. So let's do this. Mr. Uman, I'm sending you a quick thing there. Okay. Back to Darcy's question. So, yeah, the Democrats, to answer chin music, is they've got nothing. It's just talking points and attack. That's it. Really, they were not intellectuals before this, and they're certainly not going to become intellectuals making based, solid arguments now. Anyways, Darcy asks, what is the real aim of removing Maduro from Venezuela? There is a lot on that, and so I think we're all going to end up touching it quite a bit. Where do we start, though? There's so much. It's really good. In fact, it's, like I said, really been the focus of my attention over the weekend, trying to understand all the various angles. Interestingly, Nicolas Maduro is Jewish. Does anyone know that? Jewish. So why would America, Israel, want him out of power? Because Israel is being implicated in this, and we'll get to that as well. Well, because Nicolas Maduro has been criticizing Israel, so Israel won't support him. And, he's just been very vocal. What is, again, the real aim of removing Maduro? To put someone in charge of that country who looks favorably upon, are you ready for this? Bump, ba-da-dum, bump, bump. Well, how about City of London, Rothschild banking cartel? Okay, the Federal Reserve Bank, European Central Bank, other national central banks, all of Europe, all the central banks are controlled or tied to, in part or in large part, to the world banking cartel. It's the same banking people, but there's a number of countries that were not part of that. And we'll go down the list, and you can tell me if it's a conspiracy or a coincidence or a coincidence. Let's see. Venezuela doesn't have a European, United States tied Rothschild banking cartel. Neither does North Korea, China, Russia, Syria. Well, they didn't. Iran. Libya wasn't until Muammar was killed to death while being sodomized. There's just a handful of countries that are not part of the banking cartel. And it was so significant that someone who happened to have the last name of Rothschild commented on X, put out a Twitter post congratulating Trump on doing a great job. Why would the member of a banking family, guy's probably never lifted even a piece of paper in his life, want to speak out? Well, apparently it's a really big deal. So then we have to ask the question, why is that a really big deal? Why is Venezuela such a big deal? Apart from, they just don't have centralized banking that relies on the old world banking system, which is trying to become the new world order banking system with, central bank digital currencies. Okay, let us continue. Got past the initial kick on those two scotches. What else is in Venezuela? Anyone in the comments taking a big fat guess at that, Mr. Uman? You can just put up there, everyone. It's that 3-letter word that everyone screamed when we went into Iraq. Oil, right? Oil. And then there's drugs. And then there's mineral resources, which includes gold and includes silver. Very fascinating. If you look at Venezuela, it is incredibly rich in natural resources, valuable natural resources, including, I guess, one of the most prolific iron mines on the planet. And iron is something we look at as very cheap, very common, very easy to find, but apparently they've got the best shit. Well, they also have an incredible supply of oil, which we have in times past detailed. Why is Venezuela so important to the oil world? And the goods are, here's the good side of this, the pros, if you will. The pro is that it's the largest known oil reserve on the planet. And that's about it, right? The bad is it's off the shore, so it's offshore drilling. It's rather deep and difficult to get the oil up and out. And then it's not particularly clean, so it requires a lot of there's a lot of additional steps or processes in the refining system and setup. So that's the bad side of the oil there. It's not far. It's easy to send to South America, Central America, North America, even across the ocean to Africa if needed, or up into Europe. Venezuela is centrally located right on the equator. But I guess they also send oil to, I read China. That makes sense. China just doesn't have its own energy, be it coal or nuclear or oil, at least as far as natural resources. They have plenty they bought, though. But yeah, definitely, even Russia, I heard, gets or purchases Venezuelan oil. I think that is to basically support the Maduro regime. So, from a business, I heard lithium as well. Yes, lithium. They've got a hell of a lithium mine there, or a series of mines. And when we get back to lithium, Uman, my head's going to be rattled by the time we get there, I'm sure. Lithium, that has to do with China's locking up, the China angle of locking up resources to support their manufacturing and economy. Anyways, we'll get back to that. Supporting Maduro. The problem with Maduro, there we go. I don't believe you, Christina. Not buying it. Yeah, they had 850 tons of silver that supposedly was mined and refined and stacked in bars. Yeah. And then there's the Dominion. See, everyone calm the fuck down, man. Calm down. We're going to get to all of this. Just save all that stuff, Mr. Uman. We'll get back to each and every one of these topics. Why is Venezuela a big deal? Okay, we just added more to it, right? The technology. How the fuck did a bunch of idiots in Venezuela get really good at these Dominion voting machines and programs and all that? Well, apparently they're actually fucking terrible, because someone could and they did this in a court of law in the United States of America, hacked right into a Dominion voting machine right there in the court and said, see how easy these are to hack. It's not like the Venezuelan guys put in some super secret backdoor code that was difficult. An average hacker could just fucking hack in and put in a thumb drive and do all kinds of crazy shit. But we'll get to that topic as well in more detail if needed. But the problem with Maduro from a business perspective is, one, he's a communist. Two, he's a terrible fucking leader. A country with lithium, gold, silver, iron, oil, all of these natural resources, not to mention an abundance of agriculture. But the country's broke. Absolutely broke. That they, and I know that he's in the BRICS axis, right? Allied with China and Russia, even though Russia is not communist. China is only nominally communist while they operate as a fascist state. But Maduro is doing a terrible job of the country. With all those resources, they got no money. Apparently, they did bring in American oil companies. Before Nicolas Maduro became the communist dictator leader they have now, there was another communist dictator leader in there. I can't remember his name. Doesn't matter. He's probably dead. In any event, they kicked American oil companies out. They were developing the oil fields, developing the refinery capacity. You know, they were setting up the infrastructure. And, well, they kicked the American companies out. Trump used that as an excuse to say, hey, we're going to get our oil back, right? Well, on the other side, we're going to get there. Hold on to that. Leave it right there on screen. Venezuelan officials are claiming, no. Venezuela paid the American oil companies for the work they did. They didn't lose shit. All right, so Johnny Coathanger says the United States built the entire offshore oil field in Venezuela. Hugo Chavez was there before Nicolas Maduro. Thank you. He seized all vessels and platforms. That's what communist governments do, fascist governments do, and even capitalist governments. No, John, you can't say capitalists did that. Well, what do you call it when FDR nationalized the gold supply? Not just the government gold. Of course, that's already nationalized. But the American people were required through a presidential decree to turn in their gold and gold certificates, which was the paper that said, give me my fucking gold. Turn all that in and be issued new non-gold certificates, right? So yeah, all nations do that. So this isn't a surprise, especially coming from a fucking communist. What do you expect? Now, this happened back during Obama. Thank you, Johnny Coathanger. And Obama did nothing in response. And, Johnny Coathanger says, I worked in the Gulf of America offshore oil field. Then I know you understand what the fuck it means to be a redneck at sea. Roughneck. And quite possibly a redneck as well. I don't know. Anyways, Johnny, I really appreciate that, man. That's more good points. More good points. You know, this is all tying back into what the fuck is going on and why is it so important, right? You says, what is the real aim? This goes back all the way back to Darcy T, right? Chin Music was like, don't the Democrats have anything real? You know, no, they don't. It's the same old shit for them. But whoa, the rest of the world is getting a good look. Chin, I forgot. I had this in my head and then I slipped it. Now it's back. 60 United States senators are being accused by high-level Nicolas Maduro regime officers that 60 U.S. senators, and he has named the names, took bribes, payoffs, handouts, money laundering, extortion, whatever. They were taking money from the Nicolas Maduro drug cartel, oil cartel, gold cartel, whatever the cartel we want to call it, right? The communist regime. And that was, I think, 16 Republicans and 44 Democrats. 16 Republicans and 44 Democrats are dirty as fuck and have been named. All right. We now have Nicolas Maduro in Washington, D.C. Get him an attorney. We don't want him to feel cheated, you know. And wait a minute. What if Judge Bo Asberg says send him back? Send Nicolas Maduro back and get us more of those terrorists back here in America. That's what we really need. Those fucking clowns. Yeah, one of the big reasons the Democrats really don't want Maduro and this thing coming out is they are being exposed as being a bunch of bigger scumbags than even the Republicans, who are mostly lazy scumbags. Obviously, 16 Republicans, and gee whiz, it's hard to believe that, you know, people like Mitt Romney or Mitch McConnell or Lighten the Loafers Lindsey Graham. I don't think any of them really. Well, they would never take money. No. Wow. Anyways, this is a huge topic. It's a huge topic. So as we go through everything, Darcy and Chin, you're gonna kind of get a feel for how this is a geopolitical how this is national politics, how this is partisan politics, how this is Secret Service, intelligence community, spy versus spy bullshit with the CIA, Department of Homeland Security. Yeah, what's her face? The DHS, Kristi Noem, is that her name? Ooh, man. He's doing this. Okay, I'll do this. Yeah, Kristi Noem, Department of Homeland Security. She is speaking on the topic of Venezuela and Nicolas Maduro. And what the fuck? Now, I understand the drug running. Oh, yeah. Yeah, apparently they're running some drugs, too. I love it when everyone runs out and says they're just blowing up fishermen. Now, I've got to say, I don't know if they've accidentally or intentionally blown up any fishermen, but I do know from what I see of these boats, fishing boats in poor countries do not have 3, 4, and 5 400 horsepower fucking motors on the back of them. That is not a fishing boat. And they only need enough fuel to get up to the Grenadines, Grenada, maybe St. Lucia or Martinique. They can do handoffs and hand the drugs off, and kind of like a relay race where they hand the baton to the next guy who hands the baton, who hands the baton. Except they're not handing batons, they're handing cocaine. Anyways, the Maduro regime says, this is terrible. This is terrible, right? Now, what's terrible about it? That we're not really doing the drugs. It's Colombia. Don't worry, everyone. Don't worry. Colombia is on the radar, as well as Cuba. And we'll get to that here in a bit. And you'll also notice, don't forget, folks, all the other things we were looking at last week, talking about last week, all those other topics, they never got resolved. All these Somali fraud in Minnesota over home health care, child care, medical attention and care with the autism lies. And it's now popping up in other states and other cities where they're doing the same fucking things, running daycares, home health care, and providing medical services out of homes, basically commercial closets with a number on the door. Just a big giant wow. Okay, let's continue though. This Venezuela thing is huge, folks. It has international implications that cross political, energy, commodities, banking, drugs, human trafficking, gang cartel, mafia connections. Okay. Okay, let's keep on going. Okay. Here's some thoughts I jotted down, right? With the tyrant Maduro, with his arrest, really expect all of these drug cartel ties and money transfers to our politicians to finally be revealed. We're seeing that. They've revealed the names. Will Nicolas Maduro be allowed to, will he be questioned? Will the crimes actually be exposed, right? Because I believe Venezuela, or the Venezuelan money laundering operation, was giving money to American politicians. And it wasn't just Democrats, right? And 60 people. Will anyone be arrested, right? For money laundering, fraud, aid and comfort to the enemy, terrorists, right? If we need to remove the leader of a terrorist cartel and all these senators are getting money from them, how is that not giving aid and comfort to the enemy who were narco-terrorist scumbags? I mean, how about plain old death sentence for treason? This is treasonous. The facts are being out there, but hey, you know Pam Bondi. Oh, no one's going to jail. No one's going to jail. No. Maduro's going to go to jail. Right? He's going to get the I don't know, maybe the Osama treatment or maybe the Obama treatment. Maybe he'll get the Manuel Noriega treatment, no pineapple face. It's too late to give him the Muammar Gaddafi treatment. He's already been killed and he never got arrested. They just killed him on the street and and literally sodomized the guy to death. Why? Because he nationalized his oil, and he was going to put Africa on a gold standard with its currency so that it would quit being one of the poorest places on the planet under Rothschild banking cartel action. All right, so Pam Bondi, she's on the scene. And she is going to charge Nicolas Maduro and his wife, because they arrested them both, the leader of a foreign nation, a sovereign nation. So after invading Venezuela and arresting them, what are they going to be charged with in addition to the drug stuff? Possessing illegal guns. Yes, Pam Bondi, supposedly a Republican, supposedly a Floridian, no one claims she's Jewish. In fact, she's a Scientologist. She hates guns. So I got a gun here. It's the big middle gun for Pam. Woo! But she's going to literally charge the leader of a foreign sovereign nation with possessing illegal guns under American laws. So I'm asking the question. So can China or Russia kidnap Trump and sentence him to death or prison for life for possessing and having authority over 5,200 nuclear warheads? Because, well, China and Russia say no one's allowed to have nuclear weapons, right? No civilians. You're not allowed to have nuclear warheads. So can they arrest him and use their laws? How about Europe? I mean, well, what about this? Can Europe go down and arrest Bibi Netanyahu in Israel? I mean, they're not just making shit up. They have the International Criminal Court has found Netanyahu responsible for war crimes and genocide in Gaza. Right or wrong, love it or leave it, hate it or believe it, I don't give a shit. But can't they just say, hey, look, we're going to go down to that sovereign nation and get their leader and arrest him? We're going to go into his place, right? And we're going to kidnap him out of his house, bomb a few buildings, and then leave, and then put him on trial. It's funny, though, American presidents are immune from prosecution for their official acts. But now, I guess this is now precedent that foreign presidents can be arrested for allegedly violating U.S. statutes that do not apply to foreign citizens, sovereign nations, and politicians. Now, the drug cartel thing notwithstanding, I'm talking about we're going to charge him with a gun violation. I'm sure Maduro, folks, like I said, I'm not going to defend that guy. I'm sure he's an absolute piece of shit. He is a communist scumbag. No doubts. But really, isn't flying military aircraft into a sovereign nation, bombing a sovereign nation, and arresting the president of that foreign sovereign nation a literal act of war? So, yeah, if Europe, NATO, flew down into Israel and captured Netanyahu and flew him out, would Israel launch their fucking nukes, the Samson Initiative? Just blow all of their nukes that they're not supposed to have, that the International Atomic Energy Agency or whatever, the IAEA, they can't go check and look in their stuff. Nope. As much as Switzerland was the neutral country during World War I and World War II, Israel is the untouchable country that started in 1948 and no one's allowed to attack. Anyway. Yeah, Netanyahu needs to be careful after this precedent has been set. He's actually wanted, like I said, by the International Criminal Court for war crimes, and arrest warrants have been issued. So he needs to keep a close eye on any planes coming from Europe that could fly into and arrest Netanyahu, bomb some government buildings and leave. And the United States of America would have to be good with it, right? It's just hypocrisy, lawlessness, deception, lies. But folks, again, none of it matters. Laws, statutes, constitutions, none of it matters when it comes to the SHTF scenario that is now happening on a national level with respect to energy, commodities, money, which includes gold and Well, very precious metals like silver. Silver is now the number 3 biggest, or you say largest cap X on Wall Street. Gold's number 1, silver's number 3. The only thing bigger is the bond market, which funds the United States of America. That is bigger than the rest. Wild stuff. Now, the upshot of all of this is you and I think we can all safely say and look at. The upshot is that this is true. Might makes right. That's the only true law on the planet. Other than, God's law and do unto others you had them do unto you. After that, no. The true law within humanity and governments is might makes right. Whoever is violent and willing to kill others is the boss. And bosses fighting each other, well, that's war. Right? If one boss just crushes the other, well, then that's the boss. He's the big boss. But if they butt heads, if they decide to fight each other, bosses, they call that war. And then whoever wins whoever wins the war is the good guy. And whoever loses the war is the bad guy. Regardless of law, fact, logic, reasoning, evidence, none of that matters. The same way after World War II, Germany was blamed as the bad guy. Oh, those Nazis. Oh, the Japanese Empire, bad. Then they just have to, give us the justification for calling them bad, blame them for it, and then you can heap whatever lies you want on top. The Kaiser of Germany for World War I was blamed for that war starting. I thought it was the Archduke Ferdinand that was killed. Nope. Let's just blame Germany, make them pay for it. Long, deep story. Anyways, the upshot is might makes right. The United States, who's going to fuck with the U.S.? If Trump is way out of line, if he violated international law, if that makes him a war, what do you want to call it? A war criminal. If they want to try him for that, who's going to enforce it? Israel is the size of New Jersey, like Ireland, and they can't enforce the law. Literally, the International Criminal Court can't give the warrant to some sovereign authority who can go down and get him. Right? It's bullshit. The whole thing is bullshit. Anyways, it's just going to get better. Mr. Uman, maybe we'll take a little break from this, but we'll come back to it. I can't stay away from it because it is just such a big part of what is going on. 2 months ago, you wouldn't have thought, hey, Venezuela, big part of SHTF. It was a side thought. Now it's a big deal. Big Dan the man checks in with a $5 super chat donation. Hey, we're 40 minutes into the show, folks. The topic is just huge. I want to know your thoughts. What are your opinions? Not just questions, but opinions, thoughts, predictions, second, third, fourth layer deep stuff. I'm into it all. Big Dan the man says, in Washington State, now, if you buy or sell silver or gold, you have to pay a 10.3 sales tax on it, which is total bullshit. I tell you, Dan, get the fuck out of there. Look, back years and years ago when I was living in California, I had family money to invest. And so what I did was I went over the border into Nevada and made purchases of silver there, where there was no sales tax, nothing to report, Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous because gold and silver is money. And isn't this fascinating now? How constitutionally, that's right, in this here thing called the U.S. Constitution, gold and silver are the only things that the states are allowed to make money. Well, the federal government has stepped up and issued its Federal Reserve notes. But how can you tax money? Like if I have a $5 bill and you hand me $5 worth of gold, it is a fair exchange. There's no profit. There's no sale. It's money for money, right? Or money for currency. Anyways, it's ridiculous and absurd. And then that amount, 10.3% is fucking outrageous. Out-fucking-rageous. Washington State, California, Oregon, oh, good God, New Mexico, Colorado, Illinois, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and then everything north of fucking New Jersey. Right, they're so damn liberal and communist. They're going to destroy themselves. They're going to absolutely destroy themselves, these states. And it's funny, the most liberal states have the most immigrants and are paying out the most money and have the most fraud also, by the way, that's been uncovered. They're buying votes from these people, folks. And then they're cheating in the elections, the Democrats. And that's how they're going to maintain and keep their power. The Republicans are going to maintain and keep their power by being a bunch of cowardly pussies, taking handout money from drug dealers in Israel and Ukraine and everywhere else they can get money. Oh, China. Don't forget China. Oh, yeah. Gold and silver, it should be illegal to tax it. Now, down in the state of Florida here, where I'm at, now my new home state, been so for several years, gold and silver is going to be accepted in the state as legal tender again, as money. Right? As money. They're going to make it money, not just, and I think the state of Florida already accepts gold and silver for payment of state taxes. I'm sure property tax and other taxes. It's quite an issue. It's just fascinating. And by the way, if you've noticed, my flat top doesn't seem to stand up as much as it normally does. I put in a water filter system to remove heavy metals out of the water, and so my hair it's not stiff anymore like spikes. There's a lot of shit in our water. All right, moving on. Uman says foreign markets are open, and silver futures are trading around $72.75, which is up from $71 even when it closed. Gold futures at $43.76. Silver and gold ratios at 60-1. Dealers are showing spot at $73.75 and gold at $43.70. I remember that earlier they were showing spot at $73.50, while other tickers, right, the gold dealers and silver dealers had spot silver at $73.50. Now they're up at $73.75. And like Yahoo Finance or any other generic ticker you would find on the internet for free was showing gold or silver down to 71.01. So it's already up $1.75. Nice start, nice kickoff. We're going to get into this silver and Venezuela. That's kind of that. We need to discuss silver and Venezuela. We need to discuss Venezuelan gold and England. We got a lot on this plate still, folks. There's a lot on this still. Just be careful that, Pam Bondi, got to be careful. She might go arrest somebody. The few people that have been arrested during her, shall we say, tenure as lying piece of shit, just do nothing jackass attorney general. Pam Bondi, when there is an arrest of anything important, she runs to the scene and acts like she did something to it. Anyways, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable, these fucking people. It took almost a year to arrest a known narco-terrorist in a foreign country, sovereign foreign country that is not an ally, that's an enemy. And they didn't just arrest somebody, they arrested the president of that country, abscond with him, kidnap him, right? Arrest, whatever. But in this country, the Attorney General's office, the Department of Justice, the FBI, they know who all of Epstein's clients are, that they brought children to them on Epstein Island so they could rape these children, but they won't arrest them. National security, intelligence assets. Unfucking believable. Please subscribe and hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, you can't comment. You've got to be a subscriber for 5 minutes to comment. Hit the thumbs up. It tells YouTube, hey, this information is good. More people need to hear about it. That's what thumbs up does with YouTube. And then, of course, share the internet address. Please share the internet address. The reason for that, friends, family, coworkers, loved ones, they don't know what's going on. They're just now waking up. That's the other reason, that the Asian guy is so cool when it comes to precious metals and now geopolitics, is it's being done in such a way that it's unoffensive because it's just kind of factual. In any event, there's so much going on. Oh man, let's head back out to the crowd there. We got a super chat in the zone that we could take a crack at. See if we can get into it. We got Juan Yankee says, what good is Venezuelan oil if all of our West Coast refineries are shut down? All right. In addition to you, Chin Music says, hey, don't forget to talk about California. California shutting down refineries. I guess 2 of them, Mr. Uman? 2? Really? Not just 1, but 2. Shut down 2. That makes the most sense. Let's see. First, California told people years ago, buy an EV, buy an electric vehicle, buy a Tesla, buy a Rivian, buy whatever. And then they started having rolling blackouts and fires started because, well, they don't make any energy in the state. So they overtaxed the infrastructure, it couldn't handle the load, and shit caught on fire, burned down millions of acres. Fuck everyone. Thanks, Newsom. But then, the only thing they did right was I think they extended Diablo Canyon's nuclear power plant, also known as the boobies down there on the coast. But yeah, West Coast refineries are shut down. If we want to talk about Venezuela and what they're most likely to do, I'm going to tell you what they're going to most likely do. They're going to send in ExxonMobil. They're going to send in Shell. Any company that has a strong American, shall we say, connection to the U.S. government, which is controlled by the banking cartel, which has its roots in Europe, European aristocracy, right? They're going to send those companies down there to develop the oil fields the rest of the way, maximize output because they have the technology, the experience, the equipment, yada, yada, yada. They're going to build refineries if and as needed. And just like Iraq, those oil companies are going to make a shit ton of money. The oil is going to get sold somewhere else. To Europe? To America? They'll sell it to China, sell it to Australia. They'll sell it somewhere. And then those oil companies will reap massive profits. And then the government, the new regime in Venezuela, because the United States government, Trump and everyone said, oh yeah, we're going to set up the government proper. We're going to get a proper government in there. As if Washington, D.C. is any sort of decent fucking example for the world to follow or believe and trust. He spent what, $6 trillion? Hold on to that thought, Yankee. $6 trillion going to Afghanistan, going to Iraq. American lives lost. American treasure spent $6-7 trillion on Iraq and Afghanistan to make sure we produce lots of more drugs, opium poppies, exploit the lithium, and then, of course, the oil. And then to give it all back, give Afghanistan back to the fucking Taliban? Afghanistan alone, trillions of dollars. Lives lost. Nothing for America. We left them with basically the 6th or 7th biggest fucking army militant equipment, right? They've got mechanized army now. It's like it's like number 6 in the world. That's how much shit was left behind. Got to calm the fuck down. And now we're going to do something similar and, something similar down in Venezuela. It's closer to home. Oh, that makes it better, right? We're going to spend our money, quite possibly lose American servicemen. We could end up in war with China and Russia over this, or at least a big fat Mexican standoff. Oh, but there's more to it. I've got to get there. I'll get there. But let me finish with Johnny Coathanger, who responded to Yankee Says. He says, all Venezuela oil gets processed in Louisiana and Texas. Johnny Coathanger has worked in the oil industry, so I'm going to defer to his expertise that it must be the type of oil, the heavy crude that comes out of Venezuela. It's not the light sweet. Thank you, man. It's not the light sweet that they have in West Texas. So they're probably special refineries to handle that shit. But, you know, we don't want to benefit America and the American people. So we just need to make sure it stays in Venezuela. They refine it and sell it there. And that way the politicians get their kickbacks. I think it's safe to say that all these politicians will continue to get kickbacks. Now, well, just like Afghanistan, if you think that they're not going to do anything with all the fucking cocaine they're growing there, apparently they bombed some cocaine facilities. This happened under George H.W. Bush on his war on drugs, while the CIA is flying fucking cocaine into Mena, Arkansas, right under and also up so many noses. Right? It was disgusting. It was awful. It's terrible. But that's what they were doing. They needed to stop the Colombian drug cartel from controlling the market and selling their cocaine so cheap. So the government went in there not to stop drugs, but to basically take control of them. Here we have a very similar situation. And once again, yes, the government is also looking over at Colombia going, hey, we're not getting our cut. We're not getting our cut. I think that's probably one of the most important things here is we're not getting our cut. But the banking cartels look over there and go, we're not getting our cut either. We need to be controlling the money and making the loans and profiting off of the good corporations, because that's what they do. That's what they do. Good golly. Yeah, the Venezuela issue is really exploding like a starburst. Just every direction, topic-wise, is something very important that ties into it. Mr. Uman, let's see what you have next. It's Viking Boomer checking in with a $20 super chat donation. And he says, there are radical communist cells all over South Africa, SA. Could this mean another ongoing 20-year war if America puts boots on the ground in Venezuela? Yes. Well, South Africa is down there in Africa, so let me address that first. Remember when they were screaming it's white supremacy and apartheid, and it's really bad down there in South Africa when the white people were in charge, and they arrested Nelson Mandela. Then Mandela died, but then Mandela was free. Oh, South America. Well, fuck, let's keep talking about South Africa anyways. And then we'll get back to the other one. Thank you, Uman. We talk about South America so little, we don't have initials for it. Okay. South Africa, though, it is relevant because South Africa is part of the BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, BRICS, South Africa. South Africa is communist. South Africa is apartheid, black supremacy, communist. Every corporation, every business, every single one in South Africa is what? It's owned 51% by blacks. They give 49% ownership to whoever else owns the company. So they have a vested interest in working their ass off and making sure that, everyone else gets a cut of the action. In any event, let's continue. So the communist angle. It wouldn't surprise me if South Africa didn't want to send its people up to fight against, these dreaded bank cartel capitalists. They're not really capitalists. But yeah, you have a lot of communism rampant, socialism and communist rampant throughout South America. Do you think for a second that these guerrilla warriors are going to transport themselves by plane, train, or automobile or boat up to Venezuela to try and build an army to repel the American military forces? My anti-communist stance says, try that, and the American military is going to take care of the communist problem. pretty quick, right? If they want to actually form a real military and meet on the battlefield. I don't think that's going to happen. I think what would at best happen is local communist groups from bordering countries could make their way in and be harassing specters, similar to how the camel humping, goat humping, desert hill mountain Arabs, or I'm sorry, Muslims, would shell American bases and American positions and forward observation posts and forward posts and all of that happy horse shit, right? I don't think they have in South America the communist Cold War stockpiles of missiles and RPGs. There's some there, trust me, but not like they have in Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Jordan, Iran, Pakistan. Name your fucking country that had Russian communist weapons dumped in them. I mean, they're still firing fucking steel-cased ammo out of their AK-47s that were probably built in the 50s and 60s. Shoot from the hip. Okay, so let's get back to Viking here. And by the way, everyone else, super chat buttons up there if you've got something to add to this conversation. I've got a lot more coming. Could this mean another ongoing 20-year war if America puts boots on the ground in Venezuela? The answer is yes. Yes, yes, and yes. Now, initially, there was a Venezuelan who's also Jewish, and this is the big Israel connection. They were going to pump her into control as the top dog in Venezuela, kind of like Mexico's communist Gloria Sheinbaum, who was protected and backed and funded by the Mexican drug cartels, and the United States of America is doing nothing about her, even though they're bringing drugs into America through California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and any other fucking way they can get them in here from Mexico. But we're not sending American troops, Delta Force, Force Recon. Fuck, I don't know. Why don't we dig up all of the Mac VSOG guys and bring them as well to get rid of Gloria Sheinbaum, right? Jewish leader of Mexico. They had plans to put a Jewish leader into Venezuela, but Venezuela came up and said, no. We have our leader. It is not the one female, but it's another one. Their vice president. Their communist vice president is going to be the one who becomes the new controller. But it's already been released that she, the vice president to Venezuela, flew over and I guess met in the United Arab Emirates or maybe Qatar or somewhere over there to devise the plan, give out the details of how to capture Maduro. Allegedly, this is alleged, because who the fuck knows how much of this is real, stories, misinformation, propaganda, bullshit, smokescreen, plastic banana, good time rock and roll, Persian bazaar bullshit media. We don't know. All we can do is discuss the information we're given and see what really fits. So this lady heads over there to the Far East or Middle East or somewhere east of where they're at, and she cuts a deal with everybody and says, this is how we do it. This is how we remove Maduro. This is how you guys get control, and I'll be your new puppet. I guess we're going to find out who actually is going to be the next leader, but obviously they're going to be a puppet of Mossad CIA, period. I have no fucking doubts. I'm starting to question MI6 and the Vatican and their control. There's a schism in there somewhere that's difficult to pluck out and really look at, but it does exist. Now, if the person, the woman who becomes the new leader of Venezuela gets control of Venezuela and opens up the fascist business tactics and model, she'll be more successful than Maduro, who wasn't doing anything. And if she successfully keeps the country from engaging in a civil war or a communist versus fascist war in South America, if she can keep control, we won't have to put American boots in the ground. I want to know if I get another $5,000 check from Trump, a $2,000 check, a 1776 check, a tax cut because of Trump. He's promised all those fucking things in 1 year, 4 different promises. And then maybe even we'll get rid of the income tax. Bullshit on all 5. But yeah, if it gets out of hand, they would bring in American military to go, well, we've now got so much invested in this oil stuff that we can't let it go. We still have to talk about fucking silver. But what we can do, Viking, and thank you for the great super chat donation. We can look at the expansionist policy that we now have precedent for with Venezuela. Now, you also have to realize during Reagan's tenure as president in 1980 to 88, right, I say 80 because he was elected in 1980. He wasn't inaugurated until January of 81. But as soon as he won the election, countries are like, hey, back away. That guy wore a cowboy hat. He's a bad motherfucker. We're not going to mess with America. So, yeah, 80 to 88, Reagan had a problem with communist aggression and expansionism in South Central America. They were working up to get to Mexico. And so there was a privately funded war. And it exploded in controversy. It was called the Iran-Contra affair. Had to do with the United States Marine Corps officer, Colonel Oliver North. And it was Iran-Contra. Okay, Iran-Contra. They were trading weapons and money and drugs and everything they could to fund the Contras against the, I believe, communist Sandinistas down there in Nicaragua and Central America, and put an end to and a stop, but it exploded. So if we want to stop this communist aggression in Central and South America, again, we want to stop the drug wars, again, what America is saying is we need to step in and take over the oil business and all of the assets and stop communism and stop all the objectionism to this a neo-fascist global economic model, global economic finance and monetary model. So when it comes to Venezuela, Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, has a lot to say as well to give us a look into the future. And remember, we still have to talk about with Venezuela. We still have to talk about gold, silver, lithium. Oh, and something about fucking fresh water. Fresh water. We'll get into the water topic as well if we even have time for that, because we're over an hour now. We've done just a few super chats. If you've got something to say, an idea, concept, thought, super chat button right up there. It supports the show, funds the show, pays for our computers, our subscriptions, etc. You guys are what keep this channel going. And I want to thank you for it. Thank you very much. So Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, says, quote, I think they're in a lot of trouble. Is he talking about Venezuela? No. He was talking about Cuba. Cuba is still a communist regime. And if you look at Cuba, it's actually, I mean, now that I'm in Florida, I look at Cuba a lot more. So a very large country. It's an island nation, but it's very large. It's as big as fucking Florida itself. Big country. So, right. Essentially, Marco Rubio is pointing a big target, painting it on the Cubans, and revealing that the Cubans are responsible, supposedly, and control the Venezuelan intelligence services, their version of the CIA, Communist Intelligence Agency, and also they were responsible for protecting Maduro, the Cuban communists. Well, they did a piss poor job, right? But Cuba, I don't know if I mentioned them earlier, in all those countries that don't have a Rothschild banking system, Cuba doesn't either. Yeah. And remember that the Rothschild banking system, cartel family, created Israel back in 1948. They created the nation of Israel. There was no Israel. There's never been a nation called Israel until 1948, when the Jewish Europeans got on boats and migrated to this country that was called Palestine. And Palestine had a flag that had the Star of David on it, the six-pointed star. But after 1948, I guess they didn't have it anymore. And somehow, all of a sudden, Palestine isn't a country anymore. Interesting. As far as I'm concerned, all of these bankers, all of these communists, all of these evil fucks, they all need to just go to hell. And they just may. Okay. I mean, good golly, folks. What are we supposed to do with all of this stuff, right? It's quite interesting. But they're trying to push communism here in America. I just don't. How can they not see it unless they see it? Right? The best way to destroy a nation is to make it communist and import third world trash into it to destroy our culture, traditions, our morality and decency, to destroy our economics, our real estate, our businesses. Look at American cities. Fuck, look at European cities now. Homeless people living on the streets. No more gingerbread fucking houses and shops in Germany and Switzerland. It's all a bunch of, it's just fucked up. Anyways, in America, this communism thing isn't dead, folks. In fact, New York City now has a alleged Muslim who I've seen wearing the Jewish kippah and speaking with Jews. That guy, Mandami, right, a foreigner who also lied in his naturalization papers, right? He's going to be the mayor. He's the mayor now. Well, a Catholic bishop named Robert Barron is basically bitch slapped Mandami in his socialist inauguration line. You know what he said they need to do? New York City can now celebrate the, quote, warmth of collectivism. Collectivism is communism. The warmth of it versus the strong, independent, free person who I guess is cold and unloving. Anyways, when it comes to the warmth of collectivism, that warmth always reminds me of all the communist mass murders, every economic and social failure of communism, except it does have the premise of destroying individual lives of people who aren't communists. Up to and including murdering them and the entire villages, cities, and territories. Kind of like the Holodomor, which is a Christian Holocaust of anywhere from 40 to 50 million white Christians in Eastern Europe were killed by communists. Anyways, the priest is pointing it out. We're going to have a fight here at home with communism as well, folks. Except communism is used to destroy countries. Foreigners are used to destroy countries. Racism, anti-racism, anti-whiteism, anti-Europeanism is used to destroy countries and cultures. Essentially, they're trying to destroy our country. But don't worry, the businesses, the corporations will always be rich. Communism for me and you, us, the people. Fascism for the corporations. It is an economic model that works. Take a look at China. All right. Anyways, these commie bosses, they want to use force, like in New York City. They want to use force to rob an entire city, then nation. It's interesting how these communists promote stealing the wealth of others and pretending that's a virtue. We're going to take all that rich guy's money and we're all going to get an equal share of it, share and share alike, right? Well, commies like to pretend like they're going to share their wealth, but truly it's the leadership that always wins, the communist bosses who have the best lives and all the wealth and anything they could ever want, and the people get shit. They're going to push for it in America. You bet they are. All right, Mr. Uman. Let's have some more fun. We've got Alan Meyer Jensen talking to us, coming over from Europe. And he says, now Trump is talking about Colombia and Greenland. He can take that. Ruh-roh. Hold on to that thought. I want to finish reading. The Geneva Convention, Article 13, It's not legal what Trump did. Well, according to the Geneva Convention, you're correct. According to the Geneva Convention, what has been done in Palestine is a war crime, according to the International Criminal Court, right? Yeah. But this is where it comes down to, Alan. Might makes right. I mean, if that was the case, I could run this county I'm in. I could build a militia force and take over, and might makes right. Right? And you get in my way, you would get killed, right? If I wanted to do that. But, the government would stop me because I would be a threat to their power and control. It always comes down to might makes right. Now, let's go back to Alan Meyer Jensen here. He says, apparently I need another scotch. Geneva Convention, Article 13, right? But can't take Putin there, have an international arrest order on him. Trump is talking about invading Colombia. I've mentioned that, which is right next to Venezuela. They're complaining that this war is about drugs. It's about oil. It's about the silver and gold that's there. Oh yeah, we got to talk about the gold. Anyways, Putin, can they have an international arrest? Yeah, they can. Putin, I mean, anyone can say you're under arrest if you come in our country. Fucking Mamdani is saying that he's going to arrest Netanyahu if he shows up in New York to the UN building. I would pay money to see that. I would pay money to see Netanyahu say, "I'm coming, and you're not going to stop me." And then he shows up, and Mamdani's like, "Well, we're going to arrest you. You're on American soil, and there's a warrant for you international." I'd pay to see that. I want to see these big dogs fighting each other, literally. I want Maduro to get in a fist fight with Trump and get in a fist fight with these other. I want them to pay the price. I want them to be hurt physically and emotionally and financially. Leave us out of it in our freaking countries. Anyways, Colombia, and then, yes, Greenland. Greenland. If everyone, did you forget? Trump said he wants Greenland, and he's serious. He wants Greenland for national strategic purposes. What does Greenland have? Greenland has mineral resources. Greenland is also a strategic bit of real estate that's not Canada. It's not Canada, it's Dutch. Isn't that interesting? By the way, the Dutch owned Caribbean islands. They owned Pacific islands. The Dutch helped colonize South Africa and other nations. Dutch, they've been around. Very powerful. The Dutch are and were. But yeah, Trump is like, nope, we'll take it. We'll take it. That's pretty aggressive shit. That's about as aggressive as North Korea and China saying we're going to take South Korea. That's pretty aggressive, kind of like China saying it's going to take Taiwan. Kind of like Argentina saying we're going to take the Falkland Islands. And Britain, who this is the early 1980s, Britain came down to fight the Argentinian Navy. They sent the British Navy in the early 80s because they said, no, the Falkland Islands is ours. And they got in a big fight over that, a big pissing match. International law doesn't matter unless someone is willing to make the arrests and risk the war. You have to be willing to do that. Might makes right. International law is more like guidelines than actual rules. I'm pretty sure we've all heard that before. And that's really it. I mean, when it comes down to it, might makes right. I'm not saying might makes morality, because, I mean, obviously, you look around and you're like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. Right? There's nothing logical or reasonable or proper about a lot of things we see. And then from other nations' perspective, same thing applies. Religiously, the same thing applies. right? The Mohammedans, the Muslims, they all think that we are absolute horrible, bad people that piss Allah off, so they should kill us, and they have every right to kill us, and they're superior to us. They're absolute abject retards. The Israelis, as Jews, believe the Zionist Jews, not the other Jews, and this is going to get. That's going to become very complicated in the future. Hopefully, someone does a good job of explaining the difference between Zionist Jews and that are Talmudic, and then the other Jews who are into the Torah, and they don't believe they're superior to everyone else and that they can kill us and use us and rob us and rape us. These fucking people around the world are nuts. But from their perspective, we're the bad guys, or Europe's the bad guys, or South America is the bad guys, or Australia is the bad guys, or Japan's the bad guys. It's all perspective. But ultimately, might makes right. Germany was defeated in World War I. Germany was defeated in World War II. And in both cases, they got blamed for the whole fucking thing. Just wow. Anyways, Alan, I hope things are going well over there on the continent in Europe. And I appreciate you bringing up this. Yeah, Colombia, Greenland. Is Trump, the United States government, going to try and strong arm the Dutch and steal Greenland from them? I mean, we could invade it in a day with the fucking Coast Guard. And literally, I'm not making fun of the Coast Guard, but it wouldn't take a lot of troops to get in there and go, okay, look, there's 10,000 of you fucking people in Greenland. We own this dirt now. Oh, good golly. All right, Mr. Uman, I've got other topics to talk about, but I know we got a lot here. Here we go. Simon Wagstaff says Venezuela. There we go. Nigeria, which is in Africa. They kicked out the French. They kicked out the Americans. They brought in the Russians, and they are an OPEC member. And I think they're now like the largest current oil pumping country on the planet. Yeah, Nigeria, the West, meaning a banking cartel, America, Europe, lost Nigeria. Then you go to Iran. Whoops. That's still on the side. It's cited as part of the BRICS. It's an economic as well as a military union with China, Russia, and Iran. But Greenland, right? Greenland's definitely on the radar for American imperialism. I'm just going to call it that for the purpose of understanding the economics and the politics. Donald J. Trump is fortifying his Nobel Prize credentials. Yeah, the Peace Prize. Remember, a part of his campaign was no more wars. No more fighting other people's wars. America, let's make it great again. America, we want to bring our troops home. America, we want to quit spending our fucking money on other nations and their wars. America, let's fix our problems here. And yeah, definitely, we're going to release those Epstein files. That America, it's no longer that America. If they go into Iran, America could bomb Iran again. America probably will if Israel commands them to. Every time Netanyahu meets with Trump, within a couple of days, someone gets bombed. Literally. But here we are with Iran. They're not going to... We're not going to invade militarily Iran. That would trigger, I think, a nuclear exchange. I really do. I think that would. That being said, Israel is fucking 3/4 nuts. But there is right now, by the way, in Israel, a lot of Israelis, follow me on this, the Israeli people, Israeli citizens, they're holding congressional hearings. They don't call their thing Congress. I think they call it the Knesset or some shit. But their government is holding hearings and people are testifying about everything that is being done by Israel that is wrong. I don't know how those people can do that and not be fucking killed by Mossad or the IDF. I don't know, but you got to say they've got guts because they know what their government does to other people. They see it firsthand, and they're saying, actually, the hearings are over. The military being ordered to stand down by the Netanyahu administration and allowing it to take place and happen. And as a consequence, a lot of Israelis were killed. And then it's resulted in over 500,000 Palestinians being killed. If that many Palestinians were truly Hamas, my friends, they could have overwhelmed the Israelis just by charging all at once when this war started. They could literally just overwhelm them and just overrun them with sheer numbers if they had 500,000 Hamas terrorists. But they don't. And that's not true. And it's all a bunch of bullshit. And every government's going to fucking lie. And the best you and I can hope for is to get enough facts and truth to understand, see where we're going, and be prepared with food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine. Oh, yeah. Self-defense. Because things are not getting better. They're getting nastier. Christina Thompson says, how much would people in Greenland love a Martin Luther King Drive or Boulevard from coast to shining coast of Greenland? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's pretty funny. Yeah, everywhere in America, we got a Martin Luther King street, drive, road, or boulevard. I don't have a boulevard here. I think I've got a Martin Luther King street somewhere in my general neighborhood. Actually, there's like 2 of them in this county. Anyways, or I think I've seen 2 of them. That was to honor somebody who did the civil rights movement. And now we have an anti-civil rights movement out there. Oh, yes. Yes, we do. Good golly, Miss Molly. Folks, it's your show. It's Sunday Night Live. Super chat button right up there, and it's yours to hit to get your questions, comments, thoughts on the screen. I'll ask you this question, do we really need to worry about anything? Is there a risk of World War III? Societal collapse? Cyber attack? Terror attack? False flag attack? Is there a chance of that? Is the government ballsy enough going to fly in some helicopters and take out Trump? We've been told Iran wants to take out our country by sneaking up and firing some missiles at us. Is it going to happen? I don't know. Let's do this. Let's see what you guys want to talk about. Oh, by the way, we're doing great. 360 people live right here on the Prepared Mind channel, January 4th, 2026. First zoo of the year. You guys, it's your show. What do you have to say? And all of your super chats, keep the lights on, keep the studio going, keep me in spam, tuna fish, dried, rice, beans, corn, as well as spices. Make sure you have spices for your stash of food because the lights could go out. Deliveries of food could get stopped. We could have, I don't know, maybe another summer of love coming up. Who knows what they're going to hit us with. The trick is to be ready with all you need. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. And I know I don't pimp out our own channel enough, our own website, but thepreparedmind.club, CLUB is our website. And you can go there, and that also helps support us. If you click on items you find there that you need, and that's food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, as well as solar power, electric, battery backup, whatever we got there, communications equipment. You click on a button, you go to their website. All right, that helps fund us and gets you guys ready. Get prepared. Because I don't know what is coming or how, but when it comes, I think we're all going to know it. All right, Mr. Uman, what do we want to discuss next on the channel? We got Big Dan the Man with a $5 super chat. And he says, how is it even financially possible for our country to go to war with anyone right now? We're over $38 trillion in debt and no solution in sight. Oh, Dan, how wrong you are. You're just not thinking with Washington brains. This term, I've got a term, and I've been waiting for it to come up. Dan, I want to thank you for give me one to try and knock out of the park. Here's the deal. Remember this term? Modern monetary theory. Remember MMT, everyone? It was a big deal under the Biden administration. Oh, we don't need money and taxes. We'll just print all the money we need. That's how we pay for welfare and state subsidies and corporate subsidies and paying off our pals, right? Modern monetary theory. There's no end. You don't need gold or oil backing. We'll just print all the money we need and it won't affect us and won't affect your purchasing power or inflation or the value of your life. They're full of shit, right? But they were like, yeah, we can fund anything indefinitely. We'll just keep going into debt. We'll just keep going into debt. Now, my thing is, what happens if you don't pay the bank back? This is the one thing I want to think about. Why can't we borrow money from ourselves instead of from a bank? Can't the government borrow money from the Treasury to spend and get the Federal Reserve and their interest rates out? We pay over $1 trillion, I think, in interest a year back to the Federal Reserve for loaning us fresh air. Modern monetary theory. It's money printing, but it's electronic. Keyboard, right? Tap, 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 tap. There's $50 billion. Yeah, we're $38 trillion in debt. Oh, there's solution. Dan, great solution. I got it just this morning, hot off the presses. We're going to open the newspaper up. Yeah, by going to Venezuela, we're going to use military equipment, military hardware. We're going to burn fuel and see, we're going to spend money on that. And that's going to stimulate the economy. Because that's worked really fucking good since the end of World War II, right? All it's done is got us in more debt. Well, I know we're going to do business with countries like, well, Venezuela and Colombia, and we'll fix Cuba and Greenland and all of those natural resources, working with our strong American corporations, are going to enrich the United States government, and they can pay back that debt. I'm not buying that bullshit either. But that's what they think, is by creating economic activity, we're going to make so much money that it'll pay down all our debt and we'll all live like kings. It's kind of like saying, I put so many fuel enhancers and detergent boosters and octane power into my car that, hell, I got to open the gas tank up to let gas out. I'm saving so much. We're making gas driving down the road. This shit's so good. It's the same idea. What makes money and the world go round in a proper fashion is taking stuff out of the ground, be it food or mineral or metal, and making stuff out of it, adding value to it with human labor and ingenuity, and then selling it to someone else who has their type of ingenuity and type, right? And the government leaving us the fuck alone and stop taxing us. Imagine how much money would stay in our economy if we weren't paying 40, 50, and 60% taxes. 40, 50, and 60% taxes. Imagine if we had twice the purchasing power. Bam! How good we would live. If the government lived within its fucking means and didn't tax us, we could support this country just through our purchasing and buying and selling. But that's my solution. You know, it's called free enterprise. It worked up until, 1913, when we got a Federal Reserve Bank. Andrew Jackson, President Andrew Jackson, he's on the $20 bill. Hang on to that thought there, CJ. Right, the $20 bill, that guy. First off, he came in and he kicked the foreign fucking bankers out. God bless Andrew Jackson. Survived multiple attempts on his life through duels, and then paid off the fucking national debt. Last time this country has been debt-free. 1800s, folks. 200 fucking years ago. All right, CJ says, hey, I'd love to hear Trump or any other politician explain MMT, which he is calling the magical money tree. Well, it's easy. You just go in more debt. You just go in more debt. You just go in more debt. I mean, who gives a fuck? You're just more and more debt. Okay, so we know about the $38 trillion. That's the stated national debt that the government has bought or borrowed that money from the central bank that's owned by foreign banks in Europe. Federal Reserve is a private bank owned by banking cartels in Europe. The Rothschild banking cartel scam. Anyways, 38 trillion. Our government has also taxed me and you and all of America, all of the United States of America, that is, not Canada, not Mexico, not Greenland. And the government owes the people of the United States of America over 100 trillion. Some say as high as 135 trillion dollars. But let's just say 100 trillion in unfunded liabilities. In other words, they've collected money from us for Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, right, all that shit, and unemployment and disability insurance, private retirements through the government. They've been privatized. They're not in the Social Security system, right? Everything. They owe over 100 trillion to us, the people. They owe 38 trillion to the Federal Reserve Bank. None of them really explain modern monetary theory. Milton Friedman, I wish he was around to debate these dumb fucks. Thank you, Mr. Uman, for that update. I wish Milton Friedman was around. I wish we could turn Thomas Sowell loose on these people just to eviscerate them. Thomas Sowell is an incredible philosopher, and you apply actual thinking to economics and monetary theory, he could ride him into the fucking ground. Only these communist fuckheads can explain the magical money tree or modern monetary theory, where debt doesn't matter and you can create money out of thin air and it won't harm anyone. It's funny, though, the government makes this magical money and they give it to the banks. And the banks hold it as reserves, and they're supposed to lend it to people and companies and Americans. But they don't. They just hold on to the money, collect interest on it, enrich themselves, and fuck us over. But yeah, that money's in the system, and it's supposed to help, and it really doesn't. We're always on our own. You think the banks are going to really do anything to help us? You think Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan or Citigroup or Bank of America or Wells fucking Fargo or how about the HSBC or Paribas or no, they don't give a fuck about us, little people. They don't care about it in their other countries either. It's about creating money out of thin air, and they promise to pay it back with interest later while they scoop up and scrape up all of the wealth or profit from the natural resources that they exploit in all of these countries through their different various imperialistic means. China is not good. They're not the fucking good guys. They make deals with other countries. They come in, they build their ports, their infrastructure, and then they help them extract wealth from the ground, be it food, energy, or mining and mineral resources. They're doing the same thing we are, just different ways. The United States likes to threaten people, send our Navy offshore, kick the ever-loving shit out of them, and tell them, now we're here to help you. Right? Whereas the Chinese do it a little differently. They're more cooperative. Would you like to make a deal with the devil on something like you're really going to win? No. You're making a deal. You're going to live good for a while, but then you got to pay the fiddler, as they say. So all these countries doing business with China and Russia, good luck coming out ahead on that. Not saying they're evil, but I'm saying they're evil. All government is evil because all government uses its one authority. Might makes right. Might makes right. Oh, well, let's get into this shit. Thank you, CJ. I'm gonna go right back over to Venezuela and gold and silver and China and America and Europe. Okay, this idea of imperialism, this idea of imperialistic conquest, this idea of shit hitting the fan, this idea of fuck the people, governments do what they want. Governments break law, governments commit atrocities, deny everything, do whatever the fuck you want, threaten everyone with war or nuclear war, whatever you got. So if you remember years and years ago, as Poland, Germany, I think the Czech Republic or Slovakia said to the New York Federal Reserve, the New York vaults, we want our gold back. We want our gold back. And they said it'll take 5-6 years. And it turns out they got it done in a year. It's because they stole the fucking gold. They did not get the exact same gold. They got different gold, but they got their gold back. Venezuela stood up and said, hey, London, we want our gold back. And London was like, fuck you, you don't get it back. Okay. Venezuela is a very resource-rich country. A lot of gold and also a lot of silver. I believe they produce, I think the number I read was 10% of the world's silver supply. That sounds very high to me. That sounds high because Mexico is number one and China is number two. And I believe Peru. Who's number one? Do you want to come on here and just say it, man, or no?
Yeah, I think it was Venezuela's responsible for something like 12%.
But Mexico is the biggest producer in the world. China's number two. Venezuela is like top 5 or something?
Somewhere in the top 5, yeah.
Yeah, I know Peru is huge also. They may be number 3, but Venezuela is right there. All right, man. Thank you for that. He was giving me a lot of hand signals, and I'm kind of hand signal retarded. I know just a few symbols, right? Like that's good, or that's A-okay, or go fuck yourself. That's my sign language. Anyways, yeah, thank you, Mr. Uman. So Venezuela has this silver. Allegedly back on December 23rd, so that's very much prior to the U.S. invasion, that a bunch of Russian heavy transport tankers flew in, and also several heavy Chinese tanker airplanes. The Russians have the most powerful of all. I think their version or their giant tanker plane is even bigger than our C-5 Galaxy. In any event, supposedly removed 247 tons of silver. So if Venezuela does produce that much silver as well as gold, that's incredible. But they took it out of the country, allegedly. The reports are very scrambled. Getting the facts and the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth is literally an impossibility. But if we understand that Venezuela is very rich, that makes a lot of sense. So China and Russia absconded with let's just say 450 tons of silver. They're gone. Well, next year's, by the way, all the mines are shut down in Venezuela. That's the other thing that's being reported is all the mines are shut down. Gold mines, silver mines shut down. So they're not producing anything. There is a commodity war going on right now. It's part of the global New World Order, World War III shit it's the fan scenario that's playing out and is mostly nonviolent. By the way, we're at 365 people live. Share the internet address up there, folks. Get people to wake up. Back to Venezuela, precious metals. As of the 1st of January, and today is the 4th, China is now requiring an export license and permit for any large refinery in China to send silver back out of the country. So they bring unrefined fines and sludge. Basically, it's the refined paste or their doré bar, which is a partially or semi-refined product. They send that to China. China is responsible for 60 to 70% of the world's silver refinement. So all these countries have been sending, a lot of countries, silver to China to be refined. Well, silver can no longer leave China. I don't know if that includes material that's sent there to be refined from other non-Chinese sources. We're going to find out. It's creating a shortage. Silver is absolutely critical. Now, it is a critical mineral finally listed in the United States. They decided to let the cat out of the bag. Yeah, we kind of need that silver stuff. Yeah. Solar panels, electronics, medical equipment. Did I say solar panels? And now we got battery technology, computer boards, computer chips, any high-tech stuff, the space industry, nuclear reactor industry, it all requires silver. We produce as a world approximately 800 million ounces a year. The world consumes approximately 1 billion ounces a year. There's a shortfall of about 200 million ounces a year, meaning stockpiles have been, well, being taken. Now, there are government stockpiles or stockpiles in trading centers for ETFs. Those are exchange traded funds, investment funds, that if you were to buy some of their stocks, they would go buy silver, physical, bring it back, put it in their vault, and say that is our silver. We own that. And that is because people invested in us, so we invest in silver for them. But the people actually only own paper, and the government can confiscate whatever they want if it was needed. Crazy world, folks. Crazy world. But Venezuela, tons of wealth. And I think the United States of America and the banking cartel of Europe, they don't want that silver being controlled any longer by China. And that's why they wanted to take Venezuela. Like I said, it also has gold, and a lot of it. The banks are loving the gold right now. Gold is ready and set and taken off. It's going to go to new highs coming up here. It's pretty interesting. It's already at $4,400 again, and silver is up at $74.60 as we speak. It started out the show at $71.01. So it's rising at a pretty steep rate. The number to watch, Mr. Uman, is $75. Will that cause the short squeeze? And the other problem with that is, margin calls. Those are coming. Venezuela, it's about the oil. It's about the gold. It's about the silver. It's about the iron. Oh, and water. Apparently, there's just a lot of water down in South America. Fresh water. We're like, water, man. Who the fuck wants to fight a war over water? In the early 1900s in Los Angeles County, there were literally water wars over what water was available and who had a right to it. You know how it came down? You know who had the right to the water? The people with the most guns. People were shot and killed. Water wars. Might makes right. If you're willing to die for it, it's yours. Unless the other person is willing to die for it and they're willing to fight even harder. It is incredible what's going on in this world right now. It's about money and what is money and who has it and who controls it. It is about resources of food. Who has it, who controls it, what is healthy food, what is shit GMO food, right? Resources like commodities, right? Useful commodities, food commodities, mineral commodities, metal commodities. Venezuela has a massive iron mine or mining system. I mean, a lot of the mines up in North America and in the United States of America, they call it the fucking Rust Belt. Right? It's not exhausted, but right, iron. Anything that comes out of the ground, valuable. That's what the war is over. It's over controlling money and ownership and controlling the profits of natural resources, oil, metals, food, energy, uranium. By the way, that never left the grid. Israel, sorry. Venezuela isn't in the nuclear energy business. Nuclear weapons, that is America, Israel, England, France, Russia, China, North Korea trying. Japan, I'm sure, has some. Right? That's scary stuff. Nuclear energy is something completely different than nuclear weapons. And Russia is the linchpin to that. Russia can cripple us at any time. China is going to do what they can. China wants to threaten the world with their nuclear weapons also. Russia can still outbomb the living shit out of everyone. Israel claims, or there's claims that there's enough of them to start a nuclear war and then make sure the earth is incinerated. They're all fucking psychopaths. The only one, I think, in this entire planet who has exercised common sense and restraint has been Vladimir Putin. They just had another fucking attempt on his life a couple weeks ago. And he hasn't, to my knowledge, responded. But let me do this. But Zelensky is going to dismiss. He either has or he's going to his Secret Service boss. His director is named Malyuk, who is apparently responsible for all of the high-profile assassinations within Kiev and Ukraine. But have you noticed, have you looked, I mean, when you see pictures or video of these people. Every stinking Ukrainian who's in the government in a position of power looks like one of these ethnically ugly extremist versions of James Bond villains. They're all the same. They all look like they're fucking crooks and fucking murderers. They all look like they would murder anyone for a nickel or a penny. Am I a racist for saying that? Oh, yeah, the Slavic people. No, just the ones in power. They're the ones who look like fucking mass murdering thugs. All right, folks. Hey, folks, we're 90. We're 105 minutes in on our 120-minute show, right? We're over 9.5 hours, almost to 2 hours. We've got a lot to talk about. Oh, man, who's up next? We got Luke Thompson. He says, oh, yes, fresh water. Locally, data centers are taking over the water supply. Yeah, these artificial intelligence data centers are consuming fresh water. What's funny is nuclear power can create fresh water, but data centers are going to consume it. Why can't they use the water in cooling towers to cool, but then you don't lose the moisture? You recover the heat out of that. Years ago, when working with the California utility services, I got into trying to help them with our energy consumption problems in Northern California. And there's this type of heat pump, if you want to call it that, or a heat transfer system called a binary energy recover system, where you take something hot, you extract the heat out of that and use that to power turbines to create energy. In other words, you recover the heat out of something and you run it reverse into an air conditioning system to boil gases. Anyways, these fucking people could not lose that water, but they're fucking stupid. They're lazy. They don't give a shit. Fuck the people. They're going to steal the water. And remember that Nestle's, that company called Nestle, don't buy their fucking chocolate. I recommend, and I don't care who owns them. I don't give a fuck who owns them. Boycott the fuck out of Nestle because they think they can purchase the water in the Great Lakes and that no one else can touch it or use it or consume it. Kind of like our local cities, the communist cities around the country, tell people, you can't collect rainwater. The fuck I can't. Oh, no, that water's not yours. It fell on my property. Yes, it is. No, you're not allowed to capture it or use it in gardening or nothing. What are you fucking talking about? All it does is go down, get into a storm drain, and go out into a fucking pond or into a river or into the ocean. But you can't touch it. It's not yours. Folks, government, might makes right, even on the level where you and I are at, the small level, way down at the bottom. Just as little people. Might makes right. They'll send a cop out to your house with a gun, stick it in your fucking face, and make you do what they want. Or arrest you, throw you in jail the rest of your life, scare all your fucking neighbors, friends, family, so they're like, hey, you don't do that. You don't question authority, right? You can't fight City Hall. Actually, you can. And there is a huge grassroots movement right now building up. Preppers, patriots, wake up. There is a huge grassroots movement. One of them is fuck the taxation. Go to your employer, and I'm not telling you to do this, but look into it. Go to your employer and say, I want you to withhold no dollars. Zero federal income tax withheld from your check. Find out how much that is, of course, and you would save and hold that money in a bank account. And at the end of the year, then you pay taxes. Right? Because right now, you send way more money than you're supposed to. The government gets your money, gets to use it tax-free, interest-free for them. And then at the end of the year, you do your paperwork and go, fuck, I overpaid. Give me back $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, whatever tax bracket you're in, right? That's their fucking racket, is taking our money, interest-free, using it, giving us a little bit back and saying, see how good we are? We just gave you money. Well, there's a tax movement that says, don't pay them any. Wait, save that money in a fucking account, and at the end of the year, do your taxes and send them a check. Then you're still paying taxes. But you don't have withholding. The other movement that is out there is a militia movement. It is quietly building, not just a tax revolt, but an overall patriot movement preparing to take on these communist fuckheads, right? These lawless government people at a local level. At a local level. At a local level, people can fix their problems. Taking a whole state, that takes a much bigger militia force. Anything too big and the federal government will be there like that. Well, no, you people, you're not allowed to make decisions for yourself. We're the government, and we're here to help you. We'll fix those problems and return law and order and arrest those Epstein people. Bullshit. All right, let's continue if we shall. Ooh, man, who's up next? We've got Redneck Roughneck, and he says they go into all these countries, and they always install a democracy and never a constitutional republic like we have, then say we freed the people, but did they really? No. What they did was they removed an uncooperative political regime from a country. Transplanted, eliminated. And they replace it with their own version of a democracy. Right? The people get to vote. They get to vote just like America for a candidate that serves the rich people, the banking cartel. That's who the people get to choose from. Do you want socialist light or socialist heavy? Both of them are fascist tools of the banking cartels. They don't really get a country. The question is, can they learn how to run a fucking country and make it profitable instead of being a bunch of greedy, selfish, thieving pieces of shit? But the people they put in charge are just that. So they'll never do well. They'll never run the country properly. Just like in Mexico, Mexico is an extremely rich country. You can just ask Carlos Granados if you want. It's an extremely wealthy country. Agriculture, mining. And they have a wealth of people who are hardworking. I'm not talking about the drug dealers and the criminals, but it is the drug dealers and criminals that run the government by giving their money and using terrorism and drugs to control the government. Right, Sheinbaum? That's right. The president of Mexico, Gloria Sheinbaum, class act. You see, another example of someone who's in power, has supreme power over a country that is mineral rich, and they can't keep it from being a third world piece of shit country. Don't worry, they're going to bring America down to that. They're bringing Canada down to it. Europe, England, Australia, you bet. Japan, I think, is going to probably fight the hardest because while they've been westernized as a culture, and I love the Japanese people and Japanese culture because it just makes sense. But they are heavily westernized. They've incorporated a lot of Western tradition into the way they do business and think, obviously dress and technology. But they're going to fight this fucking ridiculous woke DEI, diversity is our strength bullshit. And I can't wait to clean out my state and help you everywhere, all of us, clean our states out of these un-American pieces of shit. All you got to do is walk down the street, house to house, door to door, knock, tell the people to come out. If you aren't American, get the fuck out. If you're American, thank you very much. Go back in your house. Right? These people are fucking evil terrorists. Just how I see it. Mr. Uman, who's up next? We got 6 minutes left in the show. If you got something to say, say it. And Boomer is back with his number 2 super chat of the day. And he says, it's amazing to see that millions from warmer climates come up here to freeze just to live off of the free stuff. He's talking about Canada. This shows they have trouble surviving in the warmth. They don't match the snow either. Yeah. All these people are Somalis and Pakistanis and Indians and Bangladeshis and fucking Laotians and people from the Persian Gulf area, Northern Africa, Eastern Africa, Southern Africa, Central Africa. They come over. They go up to Europe as far and as high as Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Finland, to all these peace-loving people just to trash the country. Canada is full of the most polite people. Even the assholes are polite, except for these foreigners. They come to North America, and they're not so much, well, they're in the South, but they're really taking over northern states. If they can't survive in warm or tropical or comfortable climates where there's lots of mineral resources and lots of oil, they can't figure it out. How do they expect to get along in Canada? But there's just, or Northern Europe or United States of America, the only way is by living off of us. So they go to these awful fucking climates. I mean, look, down here in Florida, the snow geese, the snowbirds from Canada come down here in the winter to get away from Canada. During the winter, it's so fucking cold. You know, the Norwegians and Swedes, they're just flat ass crazy. And the Danes and the fucking Finns. Look, I went down to Orlando. They had this show. This is the last weekend, I think, at this crazy ass convention center in Orlando. They had every scene from the claymation cartoon Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. You know, from Burl Ives the snowman to the deer to Santa and Cornelius and the fucking Bumble and all of that shit, right? The elves with the funny noses, the lion and the misfit toys. I went to that. And when you go in, they say it's going to be 9 degrees in there, right? It's frozen. Everything is sculpted out of ice. An entire like fair is sculpted out of ice. And they give out big giant coats. I went in there with fucking flip-flops, shorts, and a T-shirt with an unbuttoned Hawaiian shirt. And that was what I wore there. They can't deal with the cold, these foreigners. There were a couple of groups of people from foreign countries. They were very brown. They spoke decent English. They were very friendly to me and nice and polite. I have no idea who they were or what country they were from, but they asked me to take a picture of them. They handed me their camera. You do that. But they also said, how can you stand in here in this cold, 9 degrees and colder, and not be cold? I just said, genetically, I'm from the Great White North, right? And so this to me is nothing. I got to tell you, it was frosty and chilly. It was below freezing, but yeah, flip-flop shorts and the Don Johnson T-shirt and you know, Hawaiian shirt over it. In any event, they have trouble surviving in cold. Why they want to do that? Just to get some dollars? Well, trust me, there is more to it than this, Mr. Viking, and that's the point I was getting to. Is it's not just the free stuff. They're taking over the governments. Right, they're taking over the government in Canada, your country. They're taking over the government in England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. They're taking over the governments wherever they can. Northern cities in the United States of America. We have a fucking illegal who is here who says, I'm an illegal, my parents are here illegally, and I'm now the mayor of this big city. Then we have Mandami, who immigrated here from another country, lied on his naturalization papers, has made threats against the United States, called for global intifada, which means the murder of Christians. He's an outright fucking communist, and he is now the mayor of New York City. The people were stupid enough to vote this guy in. And the Republicans, for doing nothing, at least are saying, the reason the Democrats want all these illegals here is they vote for them. They give them free shit. These worthless people that Viking is talking about that come here for free shit, they vote for Democrats. Democrats give them shit, allow them to commit crimes. Isn't it amazing? If you went to a Democrat's house and said, give me your fucking money or I'm going to kill you. Well, number one, that would be very mean and wrong. But that's what communists do to other people. Ma'am Dammy wants to go to the rich people in New York City and steal their fucking money. That's exactly what the communists did in, well, the Romanov dynasty of Russia, Imperial Russia, back in the early 1900s. They went in and killed everybody and stole all their wealth and then said, let's share it amongst ourselves as communists. They're there to get all of the money, all of the free stuff, all of the property, all of the homes, and they don't care if they destroy everything and fucking destroy the economy. They're scum. Anyways, Viking, thank you very much. What a great show. We've got a lot more coming, folks. It is barely begun. Get in good physical condition. Get in the best health you possibly can. Prepare food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Have your plan. Understand the world you live in. Understand the people that live in your world, that 10-mile radius around your place. Understand there's going to need to be a purge, and it's going to happen. They're going to try and purge us as Americans. We have every right to fight everyone that threatens our republic, our Constitution, our lives. You have a right and a duty to overthrow tyranny. Never forget that. That is your right. It can be exercised. But folks, understand, might makes right. So in order to make your right to self-determination real, you have to exercise your right that comes from might. In other words, the Second Amendment. The First Amendment, the Second Amendment, it is our right to use might against tyrants. God bless you. Monday, January 5th, 0 Dark 30. I'll see you guys back here for the time being. Thank you for the great support on the show, the super chat donations, the great topics. You guys be cool, be safe, get prepared, and chance favors the prepared mind.